fairy tales, stories, and legends that have influenced our entertainment throughout time. For me, none are quite as captivating as the Arthurian legend. The legend of King Arthur is about a king and his knights, and it has been the inspiration for many movies, books, and TV shows. As it has been the inspiration for works of fiction, it is good to know the facts behind it. As I said, I've always been fascinated with it, and a couple years ago I considered going into history and getting a doctorate in it, so in the Arthurian legend. So I've kind of done a lot of research and kind of fell in love with the story. So today I'll explain the Arthurian legend, its historical relevance, and tell you some of the works that it has influenced. So first, the legend. You probably already know that it's about King Arthur and his knights. It's placed in Camelot, which is supposed to be a utopian kingdom. You probably know about the love triangle of Guinevere, Lancelot, and King Arthur. And then you know about the Round Table and his knights. And then you probably know about Excalibur, the sword that Arthur had pulled out of his stone. So just a little bit more detail on the story. Merlin, a wizard that had prophecies, actually placed the sword in the stone for Arthur to pull out because he prophesied that he'd be the rightful king of Britain. Arthur married Guinevere and actually received the table as part of her dowry. Guinevere throughout the story is the epitome of damsel in distress. She's constantly having to be saved from people kidnapping her and asking for ransom. There are 14 knights of the Round Table, including Lancelot. Lancelot was the first knight and the greatest of all of them, but he fell in love with Guinevere and they had an affair. And because of the affair, it actually caused the end of the Knights of the Round Table, because the knights caught Guinevere and Lancelot in bed, and as Lancelot tries to escape, he kills most of the knights. And there is at the end of the story, it says Arthur will one day return. He is on the island of Avalon, which is a magical island that healed him from almost death, and he will return when Britain needs him most. So the actual history behind the legend. The first reference to Arthur is by a Welsh monk, Geoffrey de Monmouth, and it was in a poem they wrote in the 1200s. The first English retelling was by Sir Thomas Malory, and that's where I got all the information from before. It's from the book Le Morte d'Arthur, which is French for the death of Arthur. There is an old Welsh poem called Y Godydin, and it just references Arthur. And it says there's a warrior that is brave, but not as brave as Arthur. And that was I got that from legendofkingarthur.uk. It's just a website dedicated to the Arthurian legend. The story is set between 400 and 600 AD, and it is set in Britain, but some scholars say it was set in Wales. There is actually a person, Riothamus, who was a Romano-English general who fought the Saxons in England, and he went by Arturius, so people believe that he is the inspiration for the story of King Arthur. And there is probably a person that created the legend, but none with shining armor and knights, because during that time they didn't actually have saddles for horses or armor, so they couldn't have been riding them. So on to what it has influenced. The actual historicity of the legend has been fought since the Renaissance, because the Tudor monarchs traced their lineage back to King Arthur, and they justified their reign this saying, because we are the descendants of King Arthur, we should be the ones ruling over on to our entertainment, what it has influenced our entertainment. There are many movies. This is just a really short list of what I thought you guys would recognize, but there's a lot of different movies. There's King Arthur, which is actually about Arturius, so the man behind the legend, not the actual legend. There's Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which is a parody of the knights going on a quest for the Grail, which actually happened in the book, King Arthur. The Sorcerer's Apprentice, that one was with Nicolas Cage, and it was a present retelling of Merlin, I guess. And then there's The Sword in the Stone, which was the Disney animation. It followed Arthur as a young boy pulling out the sword. And then there's Shrek the Third, just had references to the Arthurian legend. And then there's books. There are a lot of them, but I didn't know any authors other than these three, so I just put these up here. There's a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, which is about a guy from Connecticut going back in time into King Arthur's Court and learning about that time. And then there's The Dark Tower by Stephen King. I don't actually know what that is, but it said that it referenced and it had a lot of story lines from the Arthurian legend. Then there's the Space Trilogy and That Hideous Strength by C.S. Lewis, and these were both before the Chronicles of Narnia, so they aren't as well known. And then we have TV shows. There are a lot of TV shows. I've actually seen a lot of them just because I love the Arthurian legend. But Merlin is my favorite. It's by BBC, and it's the point of view of Merlin. And he's actually the same age as Arthur, and is Arthur's servant, and saves him and tries to help him fulfill his destiny, I guess. Then there's The Mists of Avalon, which was on TNT, and that was from the point of view of Lady of the Lake, who actually made the Excalibur and gave it to Merlin. And then there's Camelot, which is the adult version, I guess, of King Arthur. It focused more on the romance side of it rather than the actual story. And then there's Merlin's Apprentice, which was a mini-series about Merlin going on a quest for the Grail. And then there's an episode of Doctor Who that kind of has the storyline of King Arthur, and that was from the 7th Doctor, if you know anything about Doctor Who. And then Once Upon a Time, this is the most recent one that has referenced Merlin. They actually go back in time at Camelot, and they kind of changed it where Arthur is the villain and not like the savior. So today I have told you a little bit about the legend of King Arthur, told you the historical part of it, and I told you what has influenced entertainment today. So hopefully if you go out and read or watch something that has to do with King Arthur, you will know the facts behind the fiction. Thank you.
Thank you.